Next, we have a gentleman that I've known for about a year now. He is in the restoration industry. One of the reasons why we put this event on today for Hurricane Prep was I'm trying to put together for the community the business envelope. And the business envelope is your roof, your windows, your restoration, and multiple other things. But right now, with all the storms that we've been going through, you really need to understand the roofing industry, the window industry, and the restoration industry. So with that being said, I'm going to bring up Michael from Puroclean, and he can explain to you how window damage has damage and why you need restoration, and he's going to explain some other things to you. So Michael with Puroclean.
Slide if you would, please. I have a little presentation, by the way. I thought I did.
Puroclean slide, please.
Oh, well, while we're waiting, I just wanted to say we're a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service. Now, what's interesting about that, we also have family members, and I'd like to congratulate and thank all the family members that also put up with us when we're leaving in the middle of dinner, on holidays where we have to work nights. So a little round of applause for all the people that actually help support us in order to be at the place when we're supposed to be. So we greatly appreciate that. So I'm not sure where my slides are. However, I'll just tell you a little bit about Puroclean National Response Team. I'd also like to congratulate Steven. Steven's one of our team members. He's been in the industry 15 years. He's a rock star in the industry. He is originally from California, went through Colorado, and we're lucky to have him here. One of the benefits that we have about our team is that we're extremely clean, neat, and organized. One of the benefits that we have is that we all think of it as it's our home. Another thing that we have as far as a national franchise, there's 450 national franchises around the country. So the benefit about that, when we do have a large loss or a storm, we can actually depend on those 450 franchises that think like us, act like us, and work like us. So that's a great benefit to have, especially with large losses and certain things that are happening. We're a full service company. We actually deal with it from small molds to major losses. So we understand the small things. Myself, I've been in construction since I was knee high, and I've worked on small things from inner city Detroit all the way through the Hamptons, and now for the last 10 years here in Florida. So we're very fortunate to have that. Another thing that we do, which might be a little different from other restoration companies, is we have a builder's license. So not only do we take everything out, but we have the ability to put it back. More often than not, we hear it often is, oh my gosh, these people came, they took everything out, and unfortunately, I don't know who to put it back. We don't have the plumber, we don't have the carpenter, nothing's matching, and also there's a lot of finger pointing that happens when that happens, right? Oh, he did this, they did that. We take full responsibility from cradle to grave. So we're really lucky for that. One thing that's also really important is hurricane season is upon us. As of September 28th, Hurricane Ian claims will no longer be accepted. So for all of those who might think they may have some problems or have some issues, if you don't make a claim by the 28th, it doesn't exist. They're not going to handle it, regardless of what you may or may not see. So it's important to reach out to some of the panelists here and find out some of the information that's really interesting. Let's see. This isn't our first rodeo. Exactly. Puroclean National Response Team has been around a long time. We have hundreds of years experience through our entire group. This is what we do day in, day out. We do mold, we do restoration, we do putback. And it's important as you find different people in the industry that's not necessarily just a smaller company that may or may not do what it says it's supposed to do. But we're here, we're bonded, we're insured, and it's really important that you have someone that actually does cradle to grave and that's going to be around tomorrow. A couple of things that they had mentioned, I'd show you on the slide, but it's also on the table if you want to flip through some of our brochures. A lot of our stuff is on there. We actually have something called an iGuide. An iGuide actually goes, and what's interesting about what everyone has chatted about earlier, is the iGuide actually takes and shows you exactly what's involved with what we do. So we actually have a camera that does a 360-degree view of the entire property. So actually, when you walk in, it takes a full view, ceiling, walls, all the way around, and we do that throughout your entire business or throughout your entire residence. What's nice about that, it records everything, right? There's so many different things that we forget about what we have in our home. A lot of times I'm driving home, I don't even know how to get home, so I don't even realize what I have in my home. So a lot of things that's amazing is that this actually performs and has everything that you would possibly need for a pre-condition loss. And then also during our construction, we do another eye guide to show what we're doing, so that way you know what's behind the drywall or what's behind the walls. And then we also do a finished product. So one of the benefits that we do with all of this is actually we get prepared to go to court in case we have to go to court. Hopefully we'll never have to, but we actually prepare ourselves for court. And also, we love photos. So each one of our jobs may run anywhere from 500 to 5,000 photos. We take pictures of when the guys show up, all the equipment, everything that may or may not need. Another thing that's really important about what we do is we have a thing called Xactimate. Xactimate is insurance, is actually a quoting process that all the insurance companies actually use. The benefit of it is it's already pre-approved. For X amount of linear foot of molding, they pay you so much. For a certain amount of drywall, they pay you a certain amount. So we know Xactimate. Our specialists and our estimators have been doing it for years. So they talk insurance. They know exactly when an insurance company pushes back to go back with them and explain to them why we're getting paid for a certain thing. So for instance, the number of light switches that are out, there's a certain dollar amount that you get paid. So what we try and do with our knowledge base and our experience is get as much dollars as we can for that claim. And that's important because there are going to be times, like Shane had mentioned, they're not going to pay you for everything. So the smaller things that get picked up, those absolutely help your claim. Another thing that's really interesting about what we do, and I really welcome everyone to open and take a look at the Puroclean folders. The documentation that we have is the best in the industry. So we do that for everyone, and it's a small cost as far as how that works. In order to work commercial or residential properties, it's only 15 cents a square foot. So if you do some quick math on that, it's basically, you know, a couple $100 per location, which is really not much at all. So at the end of the day, we really document everything. It's something that we do in and day out. We really do understand the needs and concerns. Along with that, our pride and our commitment and quality is really important to us, and it should be important to you. Another thing that's going to be really important that everyone understands and may want to share is when hurricane hits, everyone's scrambling. So it's better to have a relationship prior to it than trying to figure out afterwards. And along with that, as a business owner, we can only handle so much business. So we'd like to have the established relationship early on. It's worth the conversation. It's worth taking the time to understand, making sure that you like us and that we like you, because at the end of the day, we have to work together, especially when storms hit. It's important that we all get along and that we all understand the importance of getting your home back as quickly as possible. So I really appreciate everyone's time. Slides will be up next time for sure, but we have the brochures. We also have some stuff on the tables in the back. So greatly appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Sorry about the slides. There's technical difficulties. Has anybody got any questions for Michael?
I did a good job then, right?
Hold on one second. Shane's got one for you.
So that was interesting. This young lady asked me about how do you document your house. There's how you do it. And what killed me is, and I had forgotten, and I'm so sorry, when they come in and they pull the drywall off, they do it again. That is, you will never get that kind of documentation ever in your life. Then
we know
when
where
all
the bodies are
putback
buried.
Goes on. Oh, sorry. I'll go ahead and let you.
Yeah, absolutely. We know where the bodies are buried. So more often than not, you're wondering where the pipelines are, where the electrical is. Oh my gosh, what happened? So we have that all documented. And so that later on in the day, week, month. The other thing, this is on a cloud. The benefit that you have is you can look at it any time. You ask the question, how often should you do it? It really should be done every year. But again, it only takes us about a half hour, 45 minutes. It's on the cloud. And again, more often than not, especially after a major incident, you're worried about so many other things. You don't remember how many pair of socks you had, really how many, with the art on the wall. You know, those bad things happen, but now you have something to look back. It also helps with the insurance company, because now you can show the insurance company exactly what's involved. A real quick story, we actually, prior to the storm, we did an estate right on the ocean, and you know, I guided the entire house, had the documentation. The owner of the home is actually an insurance company, so we did it for him. Afterwards, they denied his claim on his porch, saying that it was older, they only wanted to pay him a lesser amount. We got him an extra $400,000 because we were able to guide the construction that was done on his porch, and it wasn't conditioned prior to that. So, you know, information is important, and documentation rules.
Yeah, I have a question. So we own a home watch company, taking care of about 85 homes and stuff, and so we're always looking for wind intrusion, water intrusion, and when we find mold, of course, we document that right away. And we learned over the years that you need to be extremely careful how you tell your insurance about that. You don't want to use the M word when you call or whatnot. And is that something that you offer? Do you deal with the insurance for the homeowner, or would you educate the homeowner on what verbiage to use, because you can basically maneuver yourself out of a claim before you even start it, like if you're using the wrong verbiage? Sure.
Well, first and foremost, the important thing is bringing a hygienist in. I think there's a hygienist in the house, really nice guy, but the hygienist is so important. Basically, they write the script and they tell the rules of what's actually for the insurance company. Once you have the initial assessment, you get a post-test, making sure everyone did the right thing. But there's 3 different things to an insurance policy. You have a mold policy that is traditionally coverage. Most areas are around $10,000 in the area. And then you have your tear out, and then you have your reconstruction. So basically Xactimate, which is nice, is we actually quote each job in 3 different ways if it's existing mold. So that's something that they would have to look at. Some insurance companies will just say, hey, you've got a $10,000 premium, they'll write it, they'll give you the mold. But if you're unaware of it and they put it all into the disassembly or the tear out, then you're going to miss that opportunity if you're not looking at your policy. So traditionally, all policies do have mold coverage. It's a separate line item, and it has to be quoted different from whoever you're dealing with. Was that the? All right.
Real quick, I got a question for raise of hands in the audience. How many people have been here for a hurricane and had flood damage or water damage in their house? All right, yeah. This is going to go 2 questions. The question is going to be for Jordan and yourself, Michael. The big importance after a hurricane hits, you get a lot of restoration companies that come to town because of the licensing. We know what happens. Can you explain, I'm going to have Michael explain what's the difference between a trash and bag company and a company like his that's reputable and does emergency services properly, and then to Jordan, what is the importance when somebody's doing emergency services on restoration?
Well, it's really important once you have a water that comes in. There's different classes of water, right? You've got class 1, 2, 3, whatever the case may be. To me, we look at it, you either can drink it or you can't drink it, right? And then also the rule of thumb is if your home or residence isn't dried out in 48 hours, it's going to be mold. It has to be done. If you have insurance, insulation that's actually in the walls or in the ceilings, that has to be removed. It's never going to dry properly. It's just not going to do it. So more often than not, you'll hear all these condo units that actually maybe had a sprinkler head that comes through that's wetted down all of these floors, and the only thing they do is they do a little base cut. The problem is, I'm not going to drink that water, and that all should be ripped out. There's no way that it's not going to do it. Also, what's interesting about mold, it goes 2 times 4 times 4 times 16, then 132. It just expands substantially very quickly, even though you may not see it. We had a small water leak in the kitchen just the other day. We pulled out the dishwasher. There was this little speck of mold. It ended up being 40 feet of mold inside her $7 million home that she didn't know that was there, that was just waiting, and it was growing and growing and growing. So she was lucky to have that little bit of leak. Otherwise, she would have had to rip out her entire kitchen, which would have been more like a $150,000 claim as opposed to a $15,000 claim.
What was the question again? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I got a little long.
All right, so I'm a lawyer. My name's Jordan. I'm a partner at Cohen Law Group, so my answer will be from that perspective. Every policy pretty much in the world has a duty to promptly and reasonably mitigate after you have a damage event. So the question was, you know, you have hurricane, you got water that came in your house, maybe top down and bottom up. So flood water and top down water. And one of the problems that we see a lot of homeowners and associations around Southwest Florida, and frankly anywhere that's sustained a catastrophic event, get themselves into is by, number one, not mitigating promptly or doing so in an improper way. And an example of that is hiring some fly-by-night storm chasing mitigation company that's not familiar with Florida or insurance practices at all. And they come in, they get you to sign on the dotted line, and they bill you out on T&M, time and materials, okay? And that's a very big problem, especially if you've had floodwaters involved. Number one, the carriers aren't going to pay for T&M unless they've expressly approved it on the front end. And by this time, you're already in it probably $500,000 if you're an association. So you need to make sure that your mitigation service provider is knowledgeable in the insurance industry, but particularly Florida state insurance industry, okay? So that if they are mitigating bottom-up water, which is flood, that is separated and categorized differently and billed differently. In fact, there's a flood claims manual that everybody can have access to. That's a FEMA guideline on what you will be paid for flood damage, okay? And your mitigation service provider needs to be knowledgeable on that. And if it's top-down water or a pipe break, like the example he was giving, then you need to make sure that your mitigation service provider can obviously document that damage properly, estimate the job and invoice it properly, and then submit it to you and or you, the attorney, the public adjuster, or the insurance company properly. And that will get you paid, the mitigation service provider paid, and you'll avoid a lien on your property, and you won't get sued by your own vendor that you hired. So you can take a lesson from that.